The Hebrew Israelite Sacred Council Unified Network Coalition is dedicated to doing for self and walking in divine sovereignty for the purpose of restoring the throne of Dawid and the building of maintaining of heaven on earth. For the kingdom cometh not with observation. We strive to identify, delineate, and prioritize points of convergence and collaboration that honor our shared heritage and prophetic responsibility. By recognizing the wealth of our diversity, we foster unity and cooperation to restore our collective power and strength. Rooted in Hebraic identity and kingdom purpose, we serve as a working model and a light unto the nations, advancing restoration and righteous governance for generations to come.
All right, now I just wanted us to read that because this is important.
No more governor.
Next meeting, we're going to be talking about certain core principles that we have amongst ourselves that we can actually, discuss and be like, okay, these are the core principles that we have amongst ourselves, and these are the core principles that anybody else, any other community that's going to be a part of this coalition, have to acknowledge these core principles that we have among ourselves and walking these core principles. But so just wanted to read this mission statement because it's important when it comes to this mission statement. All right, Veggie Man, the floor is yours, my brother. The floor is yours. You should be able to share the screen on your end. And
Shalom, shalom, people.
shalom,
Hallelujah.
shalom. Hallelujah.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure to be a part of this this great mission. Akbala Chol Kavod. Once again, first and always, I'd like to give all honor, praise, and thanks to Yahweh Chadosh Israel, to his anointed Adonai HaMashiach, and his princes, ministers, crowned saints. To those of you striving for righteousness near and far, I greet you all in peace. Shalom, shalom.
Shalom, shalom.
Hey, hallelujah. Achot Amalia, my daughter.
Hallelujah.
Hey, Mashalom Mek.
Mea kuz, toda.
Hey, hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. And holy brethren, it's such a pleasure to be in your midst and to just to see this happening, to see and experience this in our lifetime. 1 second. Okay, I'm right here. To see and experience this in our lifetime, I think is monumental, and humble, honored, privileged to be a part of this great coalition and to do anything I can within my power to assist in causing us to have this type of sovereignty, the success, the Yah-centered principles implanted in us, and put into practice that we can actually manifest that which the prophecy spoke of. The prophecy spoke of a time to come where we will be back in power again, and not just to be in power to have it for ourselves, but to take up the responsibility once again to be guardians for creation. And in terms of organic agriculture, that's where we stand, as understanding that we have to be guardians of creation, and our responsibility is much bigger than just ours, and we've taken on the responsibility to begin to chart the destiny for the future of generations to come. So I'm definitely honored and privileged to be a part of this. My name is Ahtur Ammi. I'm a member of the African Hebrew Israelite community of Jerusalem. I'm also known as the Veggie Man, by the way, in the music industry. We share a lot of positive music and positive vibes. But I think tonight we're going to speak in agriculture quite a bit. I'm an organic agriculture consultant, studied, lived, and worked in Israel, in Ghana, in more recent times in Malawi, Tanzania, Ethiopia, South Sudan, and extensively in Kenya. I'm also the manager of ABI Organic Agriculture Limited as an agri-consultant. Formerly from the worked as an assistant to the Minister of Agriculture in Antigua and Barbuda, where I was born. And here we have been working with ABI Organic Agriculture Limited. I serve as the managing director there. Our main focus is helping farmers grow food organically. And some of that I'll break down. Palal, if you don't mind, I didn't go into sharing a screen on trying to break down specifics because I wanted to be a bit targeted on the questions that that was posed, rather than just sharing an overview of what we think would be necessary, but to share to answer the questions that were being that needed to be addressed tonight. Um, and in wrapping up the introduction, I also work as a board member of COAN, that's Kenya Organic Agriculture Network, which oversee organic farming developments in Kenya within the local community, and that works nationwide across all 47 counties of Kenya. We Here in Kenya, we have established ABI Organic Agriculture Limited, as we mentioned, which um, in a nutshell, us being responsible in developing redemptive institutions that are going to serve the best interests of our people and the environment as our given responsibility. We also have a vegan restaurant, Soul Vegetarian Kenya. We have a school, Paradise Natural Living International Learning Center, as well as a nonprofit, which is Paradise Natural Living Society, where we do quite a bit of work for the local communities. The Truth Fire Studios, one of my passions, is something we established here as well. What we do in terms of how we have come into the country, we have taken a position understanding that the focus has to be to develop redemptive institutions that are going to serve the people. So our focus, whether in vegan cuisine and culinary food development, we have been heavily involved in training quite a number of farmers around the country, which is the main model. And if I just break down ABI Organic Agriculture for you, I'll share the website as well. ABI Organic Agriculture is a company where we provide products and services for people who have nothing but some land and maybe some water. So we'll come in, design your farm for you, give you a 3D when necessary for those who ask. If you want on a larger scale, we could be flying in a drone, take an overhead shot, and do a 3D printout of what your farm would look like. That is including irrigation systems, greenhouses, shade net houses, even all the way down to earth brick buildings when necessary. And we train the farmers, we install the products for them, and then we also come back to do what we call an agri support visit, where we have an agronomist that may visit the farms once a month to make sure the farmer is following the schedule we would have given them. Our products include only certified organic inputs. That's for pest and disease control, as well as fertilizers, biostimulants, etc. We teach the farmers and give them a spray schedule of how to develop and how to grow the crops organically. Our main focus has been and continues to be soil regeneration, because the health of the soil determines the health of the individual. If I'll say in a nutshell, there's a quick overview for those of you who may be new to organic agriculture. Organic agriculture is simply growing food without any toxic or deadly chemicals that could harm either the soil or the consumer. And alternatively, growing those foods using regenerative practices and inputs, whether they are fertilizers, foliar, as in spraying, or whether they are used in the soil or granular that goes directly to the roots of the plant. And that includes all aspects of crop management, where we teach organic agriculture. The why organic agriculture, as it comes up in a question later on, but I'll mention it now because organic agriculture is the only sustainable manner of growing food that we can secure future generations. If we do it any other way, we grow food with toxic chemicals, we're killing ourselves. We grow food with toxic inputs, we are killing the soil and damaging the plants, damaging the environment. So our given sense teaches us that the only way you can actually grow food in a sustainable manner is doing it organically and using practices that are going to have long-lasting impact, that actually where we encapsulate sustainability in the entire practice of those agricultural product productions. Okay. And lastly, I'll mention our focus this season has been training. So we have two training centers. One, which is a demo farm. We do a simple 2-day training, and we are working tirelessly to launch our new training center in Limuru, where we have a classroom and we're building greenhouses and building desks and chairs and whatnot to get that fully established, where we intend to train up to about 60 farmers per month. And we want to do that so we can exponentially develop the local people, so that these not only teaching people how to protect themselves, but those people in turn protect us, because we have access. We have access to clean, healthy food, and we are going after the youth, especially because we understand that we have to secure the future, the future of the environment and the future generations, by empowering them with the skills, the understanding, and the and what they need, so that they can grow the food to protect their own health. Okay. So I hope that was okay. Am I going too fast for anyone? Because I know I'm from Antigua. I have an accent and I speak fast sometimes. Everyone can just let me know if I'm okay.
Yeah, it's
I guess I
good.
need to look at the chat.
Yeah,
I'm good.
you good.
Okay. All right. Okay. So I'll jump into the. Can I go straight into the questions?
Kane.
Okay. Yes, I think that was the focus for tonight. So the first question in the community farming development. Do I need to read the document, or does everyone have this? Palal?
Everyone
I'm
should
not
have
sure
it.
about everyone else.
Everybody have this? Okay.
I can share the document on the screen real quick.
Okay. Okay. The number one, community farming development, where it says that each community within the Hebrew Israelite coalition should establish a farming department focused on growing crops suited to the environment. Now, question one was, what organizational structure should each department follow? Now, because for the sake of time, I'm going to be real straight and direct as much as I can be acute to what I think the answers need to be. If I miss anything, or if I any questions need to be asked, we could just everyone could take a note of it and come back to the questions after we're finished answering each one. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's perfect. That's good.
Okay. Okay. All right. So we'll go in. What organizational structure should each department follow? The In terms of straight up food production, I would say the first thing we follow is crop production, which is key, packaging, storage, and distribution. Now, packaging could also go into value additions in terms of crops. But the first area that needs to be mastered is production. Because if you don't master the production of the crops in a sustainable manner, you're going to run into a lot of different what can I say? You'll have quite a bit of pitfalls if we don't master the production. And beyond mastering the production, it's the post harvest. Now, when I say production, we go into detail in terms of nursery establishment, how to manage your crops organically, transplanting, what you do for the plant at the nursery stage, how to take care of your seeds and the seedlings, and then different transplanting methods that gives you the best results, as well as different types of inputs that can multiply roots. We have um, different organic fungal treatments that you can apply to multiply your roots. And it's important to understand what minerals each plant needs, because different plants may take different minerals from the soil. So we do different types of crop rotation, soil regenerative practices, and regimens that we apply to secure that the soil is being regenerated. Because modern agriculture taught us to be thieves, where we take and take and take from the soil and never give anything back. And now, the soil being the mother and being the parent to us, we have to understand the symbiotic relationship that we give and take. So when you give, you receive. So the soil, when the scripture said the earth shall yield its increase unto you, or it shall not yield its increase unto you, as sinners. And conventional agriculture as we know it today is sinful, because we take from the soil, we deplete the soil, we damage the soil, and then we expect to get great yields and great harvest, and then quality harvest. You get none of the above. And if you do get some quantity, the quality is definitely compromised, because you're not building an Adamic soul anymore, an Adamic body, because the plants contain all of the essential nutrients and micronutrients that we need to get from the soil. It transforms it into a manner that can be assimilated into the human body and digested into our system and enter into our bloodstream. So I would say paramount is getting an understanding of crop management. So you asked me in terms of departments, production will encompass training as well as everything that goes into crop production. And then post-harvest, in terms of packaging and storage, those are going to be key. If you're looking at any type of large scale distribution or any type of distribution, it's going to be key, and looking at whether we need to do cold storages on that. Okay. And then distribution, after determining what would need to be distributed, then we begin to discuss distribution. The second question, which is what minimum farming activity should every community begin with? And I would say straight up, everyone should have at least a kitchen garden. If you don't have any growing space to grow anything, get little planters, even if they're small boxes and pots, and begin to grow food, because the relationship between ourselves and the soil and the plant is important. If you don't have that relationship, many times you would actually think that you're consuming, whether it's vegan food or some good vegetables. If the integrity of that food is compromised via chemicals or any type of contaminants from anywhere, then you are exposing yourselves to some one of these lifestyle diseases, sickness, contaminations, etc. But we have to avoid being exposed, and the best way to avoid that is that we begin to grow the food and understand how food is grown. And I will not go into too much detail at this particular moment, but that connection with the soil and with plants is paramount and important for every human being on this planet. Everyone should have some sort of interaction with the plant and the soil, or at very minimum, some grass on your feet. Okay, so and how do we ensure that every community contributes to the national food system? The idea of contributing to food systems globally is one thing. If we are planning to be here, for those who are not in the country, not in Kenya or in Africa, and we're looking at distributing we're looking at distributing from the Edenic lands to the US or wherever other people may be, then we'll break down into detail different types of rules and regulations for packaging distribution, because when you dry certain produce, they don't go on to go the same type of regulatory restrictions and certifications necessary to be exported. Exporting fresh vegetables and fruits to the US and to Europe, there's a lot more red tape that they have to go through. So if you're looking outside of the Edenic continent, then we'd have to begin to break down and explain what do in terms of ensuring that we communities contribute to the national food systems. The first thing I would say is establishing community farms first, personal kitchen gardens and smaller projects, as well as a community farm if there are larger communities living within proximity of each other. The idea of trade and community contributions, they become necessary if you're really living in completely different climate zones. But I found, like, for example, if you live between West Africa to East Africa, it's quite likely that we can grow very similar food in these environments. So rather than trying to trade, for example, some broccoli and cauliflower into somewhere that has somewhere, let's say in Dar es Salaam or in different parts of Africa that have an extremely hot climate, I would recommend more so that we build shade net houses where the black shade reduce the temperatures so that we grow the foods we need to feed that community right there without having to go through the expense of transporting those products. Because I do that for clients, farmers all over this region. Those farmers who live in the cooler areas, we establish greenhouses which allow them to grow summer crops year round. So there's quite a few tricks to it that don't let me say that don't go against the laws of nature. That we can create different types of structures and different types create the environments conducive to the different type of crops that we want to grow. But most of the times you're going to find that from Tanzania all the way past Kenya, all the way even touching Malawi, Uganda, in some parts of South Sudan, all the way going down to Rwanda, to Rwanda, and even down to Central Africa. What I've discovered from my travels is that most of these climate zones are very similar. So I don't want us to get stuck on thinking that we have to do so much trading across these regions because these artificial boundaries that they put and said you're in Tanzania or you're in Uganda or you're in Kenya, those are artificial boundaries. Those boundaries do not restrict us from what we can grow in these different climate zones. So the environments are really similar. So we don't want to get stuck in thinking that you have to trade like watermelons from Kenya to Tanzania. Watermelons grow in Kenya and Tanzania. Likewise, most of the herbs and vegetables that are indigenous. And why I say this because I've personally trained and developed farms in these areas for guys in Tanzania, for guys in Malawi, guys in Kenya. I've personally been involved in projects and growing on almost identical crops in all these different environments. So wherever people are living within these regions that are very similar, there's I think the most important thing is understanding how versus trying to get it from somewhere else. Okay. Um, what funding models can sustain communities and national agriculture projects? Now, the first thing I would say, if you have established a nonprofit, it's an excellent idea. For those of you who still outside of the region or have access to friends, families, business partners, colleagues who may own their own businesses, these there are mechanisms that you can get that written off to support, like we do here in Kenya. For those people in the US who want to support us here and they own their own businesses, we can get that written off and get their 501c3 so that it's all tax compliant and not having to necessarily go into your pocket to make an additional payment to something or to support something that you may think is outside of your reach. Okay. In terms of tithing, in terms of should communities use tithes, donation, rotation funds, or partnerships, I said all of the above work because I know coming from different communities, we may have different way that we tie, different way we make contributions to projects, but I don't think we should limit ourselves to one or the other. Because coming into Africa and saying that you're going to develop and build and live in Africa, it comes with a unique set of challenges. And many times you find that the challenges become financial because figuring out how to sustain yourself or sustain projects here can sometimes be quite challenging. So the unified support always help making it a success. And many times guys outside of the continent would look at guys on the continent, wonder why they're taking so long to get it together. They're not working it out. And many times the because of the split of our people, the biggest resource ever taken from Africa was not gold, diamond, silver, it was the people. So bringing our minds, our energies back together and supporting projects on the ground is an investment in your future, or even if it's somebody else's future, supporting the projects on the ground. This is how the Israeli diaspora helped to build Israel. Likewise, the Chinese, the Indian, they all do. But Africans are the only ones whose diaspora population do not support directly, as these other nations have been able to get the external support of their own people to support and build their projects. So in terms of the donations and rotational funds, I say the problem we have is that we spend too much money. We don't rotate enough money. So we need to start thinking rotation and stop thinking spending outside of our coalition and outside of the people we intend to work with. Okay. So then in terms of securing long-term funding without relying on outside nations, the idea, the seed I would plant right away is to make these agriculture projects sustainable. Even if I give you examples, because I do in the honor of the Vegeman brand, I do sea moss, I do moringa, I do nettle, I do ashwagandha, ginseng, and you name it. But now I'm saying to begin to make some of these projects sustainable is that we grow and circulate among ourselves. So for example, if you can grow moringa, moringa is easy to grow, especially in the hot climates. You can powder moringa, you can powder it, package it, and that's something that's an easy distribution. And everyone needs moringa, whether they realize it or not. But these are some of the superfoods that help to ensure that we're getting the proper nutrition we need wherever we are. So in terms of real security is going to come from us thinking outside of how we were trained to think in America. Because the thinking we were taught in America first, it was job oriented. I mean, which is just a step away from a slave mentality. And then in terms of trying to really support ourselves and get ourselves moving, many times we look at some of these projects as hard capital investment versus support. If you have a job, keep a job and support an institution or support an agriculture project, something that can turn over. So when you're ready to jump ship, you can jump ship because you've already secured your space there by helping a business to get to a level of sustainability. So when you talk about agriculture, the there's no limit to what we can do. where they're going to dry fruits, mangoes, pawpaw, coconut oil, you name it. The list is endless. What it's going to take is focus and dedication and serious determination to see these projects all the way through. And I say this because I've been in the game for this for a while. So when we talk about establishing and really not relying on outside funding, we have to create the engines ourselves, and we have to be dedicated to creating these engines. So we have to first build the engine, grease it up, oil it up, and let it roll. There's some things we have already started that you guys can be a part of. Like as I mentioned to Palal when he mentioned about establishing farms in Kenya, I said I showed him that we have a farm here about 15 minutes from my house that I'm personally involved in, and that farm supplies food for 14 families with a minimum contribution every month. And in terms of how we got so far and how we built it, we all contribute towards the building and establishing and what's needed to take it where it needs to go. The brotherhood get together. We say, look, guys, we're going to pull this money together. We need a couple of $1,000. Everyone put chop, chop, chop. Let's get irrigation expanded. Let's go. And this has allowed us to be able to consume organic vegetables every week. Every family has a basket coming to them that's not loaded with the toxic chemicals that have caused a rapid cancer increase in this region, because most of the chemicals that are being used in the agriculture space are carcinogenic. And quite a number of them have been banned in Europe and other countries over 40, 50 years ago. And they're being sold in Africa under new names, but the same active ingredients. Many times they may have some greedy politicians, some people, some of the poisonous stuff is subsidized with even some politicians who generally think they're doing the right thing and trying to help the farmers grow food and develop. But the long and short of it is that the lines to the dispensaries or the clinics are getting longer. The cancer rate is rapidly increasing, and the hospitals are continually being built up. So new hospitals are not success. Empty hospitals is what we're trying to establish. We're trying to empty the hospitals. So this is not the job we have taken on, and how we have approached this is not just based on us being Hebrews trying to protect ourselves. Our prophetic mandate is to be a light and a salt to the earth, to be a light to our people. So we don't just teach our own organic farming, we teach everybody organic farming. Even some of the other nations and our fair-skinned brothers and sisters who come to us, we teach everyone organic farming, because organic farming is going to secure humanity for the future. And we have to understand our responsibility to humanity, not just to ourselves, but yes, it starts with us, but we have a responsibility to be a light to humanity. And that is why we are so focused on training, and spreading this mindset that healthy soil, healthy plants, healthy soul. So the concepts that we apply is one of it. We repeat over and over is love the land, and the land shall love you in return. Okay. I'll jump into number 3. How can communities trade seeds, produce, and farming resources globally? Again, I think that's a bit of a repeat of one question. Well, I answered part of it, is that we actually must look at some value additions. We have to look at value additions if we're looking at global trade. The concept, I think, of global trade, as we have seen it established, some of that we're going to have to twist a bit, because we even agriculture, some of it, even us, we're in an evolutionary process where we're learning different techniques that we've been doing this for decades, and now we're learning the benefits of no-tilling, where the mycelium in the soil remains intact. We're learning the benefits of doing different types of mulching, so that you create a forest environment below the soil surface, and you create on the soil. The forest environment basically is where you would go into a forest, you dig your hand in the soil, and you say, man, this soil is so potent, and it's because of all the decomposition from the leaves. Yes, that's one portion of it. But the other part of it is that the forest has covered the soil. So the soil it creates an environment where the microbes and the microorganic activity is multiplied significantly, exponentially, because the ground is covered. And that soil becomes so potent because all of the minerals and bacteria, everything comes up once again. It's like the earth is coming back up to give its vital nutrition to that soil again. So growing in that soil, you're going to find is so beautiful. So in other words, we are learning that some of the agriculture practices that we have been taught were for people to sell equipment and sell fertilizers, blah blah blah. when some of it has actually been forcing the earth to produce without a skin, like trying to get a human being to produce without a skin. So the where was I? I was at number three. The global trade is good, but I'm saying that the global trade has to be it's gonna take a bit of reformatting and recalibration of our brain to how we need to interface and interact with each other, so that we can do it the way that we need to do it for us and for our people. We have to always think about the people as we're establishing and we're moving in this. Okay. Um, so the protocols for fair trade, the systems of protocols, again, those we'll have to go into a deeper dive, because at that point we have to see what is it that we really cannot grow in this particular environment, and why is it necessary to trade with another environment. Because outside of that, we'll go beyond food and look at other items that we have to trade as well. Seeds saving is absolutely necessary. We have seeds in Kenya that I got from Israel, that we started, Hebrew charts, we call them, not Swiss charts anymore, that we have been growing since 1998 in Israel and still reproducing. And those charts, they're so potent. They insects, leave them alone, no diseases. They grow really, really big, real potent, pungent, better taste, better quality. And we haven't tested them, but I'm sure the nutrition is gone to the next level. But when we continue to create and establish and modify our seed banks, that is some of the power that we need to tap into. If you're asking about power, that's the real power in terms of preserving our seeds. Okay, so there are different types of methods you can use in terms of your seed saving systems that we can go into as well. Should we designate regional distribution hubs? I say yes, definitely. But the first thing that we do is focus on local production. I said that why I insist so much on local production, because it's important that we eat indigenous to any land that we're living in. Anywhere we are, we grow indigenous to those places and eat indigenous to those places, because that soil, that environment, and what that soil produces is something that is going to give you the type of regeneration that you need, the type of physical nutrition and generation and regeneration for your body that you would need and sustain you to live in that environment. So the earth is already giving it to you. And that's something that we miss many times, because we move into, we go to another country and we want to get something that you can only find in Israel, or something you can only find in the US, or only find here or find there, only to find out that some of these indigenous foods, that the level of potency is far superior to anything that you would know. I give you an example in terms of the stinging nettle here. The nettle in Israel and some of the countries I've been, even in Antigua, you can pick it up. It doesn't sting inside your hand, but it stings at the back of your hand. Blah blah blah. The stinging nettle here, I touched it with a glove, and that thing penetrated my finger and hurt me for days. Okay, the baobab fruit. The baobab is way beyond any vitamin C tablet that you're gonna pop. But this baobab tree lived for hundreds and hundreds of years. So that baobab powder is something you want to consume. Whatever secret that plant that fruit contains, that tree can live for hundreds of years. We need to consume it. So rather than trying to go and get something because we grew up having one particular thing, let's do proper research and explore the countries we decide to resettle in and move into, because the indigenous, let me say, Ima Adama, she already has everything there that you need. You just have to find it, and sometimes it may take a bit of listening, humility, and really begin to tap into what's already there for us. There are not many things that we have to recreate. Okay. Question number 4. How can the communities communicate for internet or power systems fail? If the internet or power system fail, I think we come back around to that same, my very point is that growing locally and creating sustainable systems wherever we are make us less dependent on the things of the grid, if I say it like that. Because if we have to depend on the internet, if we have to depend on different modes of transportation to get the food that we need to sustain ourselves on a daily basis, I think we would have defeated the purpose of why agriculture in the first place. So organic agriculture and nurturing the soil and doing the right thing to the soil and making sure that you have for example, I can speak personally. Where I live, my backyard is filled with boxes, filled with plant boxes from horseradish. If that we get, we use my horseradish for Passover actually. But from horseradish all the way down to every single salad between the farm 15 minutes away and my backyard. I do not eat salads from, even if I go to a restaurant, I do not eat their salads because I'm not sure what type of growing practices were used. And the plants, the fruits and leafy vegetables, they don't have the type of detox systems that you may see in some trees or in human beings or in the earth itself. The fruit, whatever is sprayed on the fruit, it absorbs it within the cell walls of the fruit and it keeps it to the lifespan of that fruit. And likewise, most of these leafy greens. So when they tell you that they sell you some toxic chemicals and tell you that you have a 21 or 30-day PHI, which is a pre-harvest interval, the time between application of that spray and the time of harvest. These things are is almost like someone telling you spray this. I'll be not being too extreme, but spraying an insecticide that you use to kill mosquitoes on your kitchen counter, but don't lick the counter right away. You can lick it in 30 days. It's madness. Okay. So our position in that is just don't use them because they're toxic, they're deadly. Do not use them. So using organic pest, disease control, etc., is the only way that you're going to secure your food security. So the networks and the grid and the transportation means and all of that, those become of non-significant if you have sustainable systems right where you are. And in the long term, in terms of if you go for a further reach, when you mention beans and legumes and so on, I would say yes, we can do some trade with those if absolutely necessary that you're not growing them in the area. But the once again, the easy way is to grow it yourself. And if you really, really understand your prophetic mandate and your responsibility, you are supposed to be developing the people around you. So if the people around you are growing these foods, that becomes your protection mechanism. We don't have to depend on each other so much in another country because you would have developed the communities, empowered the local people, and you have access to organic food all day long, up and down. And then in case of extreme emergencies beyond the internet, we encourage everyone to have some sort of security or backup where you may keep buckets of legumes and brown or black rice or some of the different types of indigenous rice or different types of grains that you keep buckets of those in storage that can last you at least 3 weeks to a month if something does happen. So you try to always have a backup of some sort, some contingency is what I should be saying. You have some sort of contingency of beans and legumes at all times. That's something that should be standard for everyone. And those, when you empower the people to grow them for you organically, you will always have those. Okay. So that's something, that's a point that was not mentioned that I want to mention and put in all of your minds. All right. I think the rest of the questions in 4 touch on a similar topic in terms of how do we maintain unity and trade during those disruptions. The 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 real trade, if you ask me, is not just amongst us trying to trade with each other across countries, but the real trade is empowering the people. And that's our response. That's why we're back here. All right. Controlling our own food is key to a nation. The question is, what steps are required to achieve full food sovereignty? And I don't want to be repetitive, but many times it comes back around to the same thing we were saying before. Your environment has to be beyond just you and your immediate family. Your environment has to involve your neighbors. If not your direct neighbors, your environment has to involve people within proximity of you, of where you're living. And I'm speaking to most of us coming back to Africa because food sovereignty for me would be vain if it was just about me and my family. It becomes a vain thing because we're talking about food sovereignty in terms of controlling what we eat, the quality of what we eat, the crop, the growing protocols of what we're eating, and it has to become that. But for example, I live in Nairobi. It makes sense for me to go all the way to a place called Embu, which is about almost 2.5, 3 hours away from Nairobi, and empower the rice farmers there so that they grow brown rice organically for us, and we have organic brown rice for our community here in Nairobi, for our neighbors, for the restaurant, for the school, and the other children who come to the school who are not necessarily community members, but they eat vegan food in a school every single day. And likewise for guys who are growing soybean, if you're not in a zone that you can grow soybean, rather than going to try to figure out how to import it from another country or somebody growing too far away, you empower the local people with you, so that the journey, in terms of one, being a light to the nations, and two, being able to now activate the blessings in creation, because Yah said his laws are in the earth. And if Yah's laws are in the earth, there's certain principles that we have to apply and teach other people to apply, so that the earth will be activated on our behalf. And and I know as a coalition we're thinking about us, but it's going to be we have to think outside of ourselves, because this our responsibility is empowerment. And once you see a need in the people anywhere, it's an opportunity. Yes, it's a business opportunity, but two, it's an opportunity to shine your light. And many times those people who are in real need of this light and this living example of what it is, whether it's in agriculture or in the other aspects of our lives, the people who are in real need of that light, they are very receptive to it. And I found that here in Kenya. I found the same in Ghana. I found the same in Malawi, in Tanzania, in Uganda. The people who are in real need, who really need us, they are super receptive to us, because they're actually looking for answers, praying for answers. And we have to understand that the spirit of Yah on you will let you be the answers. And let me not go off, but in so many ways, you'll find that when you look at the needs of the people and find a way to address them, you are actually stepping into your Yah-centered shoes. All right. How do we move beyond local farming towards a national agriculture body? No, this is where I would say I'll go back to the top, where I said that each individual need to have a kitchen garden or some planters, and we will teach you. If you don't know how, we'll teach you how to do all that. I mean, we travel between myself and the Ministry of Divine Agriculture under Prince Yadiel. We travel anywhere to teach our people how to grow, or to help them to grow and develop the organic projects. The moving into a larger body, it will begin small. We teach, we do get everyone involved in some training. We have the 2-week training program. We have the 2-day training program. We're going to launch the online training soon. So get involved in the training programs and begin to learn how to grow food. Growing food is really important, and it's more than food, by the way. It's a relationship. It's a symbiotic relationship between man and the soil. But we have to understand that how important growing food is. The starting small will allow us to look at a bigger project with more intelligence. Because what happened is that I've seen quite a number of different types of people. I mean, from the US, from different countries who have come back to Africa, and they have always quite a number of times we speak of agriculture from almost like a a techie looking at a soccer game and expecting the guy to score the goal and do it like if you're using a joystick, telephone farming or farming remotely. Most times it doesn't work like you think it's going to work. And many times punching numbers into a computer and saying, this is what I'm going to do, I get this amount. And we teach the farmers, by the way, we teach you how many tomatoes you're going to get per plant, how many plants you can plant in this bed, how much production they're going to get in that smaller acreage to the larger acreage. And most of them guys just punch numbers on a spreadsheet, and you expect, okay, this tomato is supposed to give me 6 clusters, and I'm going to get 6 of these 6 clusters in 6 months, and I'm going to get this amount. It doesn't necessarily work like that. You have to understand the growing protocols. You have to understand the nature and the nature of agriculture, and the do's and the don'ts, how different soil types perform, how different plants perform in different soils in different environments, so that you get a handle of it. You get a real hang of it. And then going beyond that, once we have everyone getting a good handle on what it takes to do this, then we can begin to look at larger agriculture development. I am actually pro developing community farms if we have people within proximity of each other who can both contribute and benefit from the farm. If guys are outside, away from the farms, or not living close by, and you want to benefit from it, then definitely making some financial contributions, or even if someone is in the space of grant writing and you can write grants, etc., then we say yes, absolutely. Okay. I'm just reading forward. I think we're on number 6 to move into a large agriculture body. Now, some of the things that we might not be looking at right here, right now, within the coalition, as far as when we say an agriculture body and looking at how to secure food within the network of ourselves, the some of the things that the agriculture body, I think, can be tapping into beyond just our personal rotation is a bit more administrative as well and influence, because the agriculture space, while it has so many components and different aspects of agricultural, whether it's equipment, producing fertilizers, blah blah blah, irrigation systems, there's so much. It's so wide. I mean, you have down to the sales, administrative, marketing. But I think in terms of the influence, one, in terms of policy within some of the countries, two, within sensitizing the people to understanding why they need to move into growing healthier food, etc., etc. This is some of the areas that our national body can look at in terms of how can we shift the paradigm, the agriculture paradigm for some of these countries or some of these communities at whatever level, because the 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 end result has been devastating and continues to devastate our people. So looking at what's taking place to our people, it's we can't turn a blind eye and look away from it and think that it doesn't matter, and we Hebrews need to look out for ourselves. I say yes, we put on our gas mask first. Absolutely, I agree. But then when you look at our global slash national international responsibilities, you're going to find we get a lot more of the answers that we are looking for, because the agriculture body has to be one that not just protects us but protects the local people. And I say that in humility but very uncompromisingly, after having over more than half my life in Africa and seeing what is taking place. And I'm not just talking about agriculture, we go into the fast food to talk about the social media influence and the media influence and the music and the what you call it, the pharmaceutical drugs and the whole reasons why the pharmaceutical drugs, and people just not understanding why they've been put into such a deadly cycle, and the responsibility that they themselves have for it. But if we don't step into put on our big boots or big shoes and step into those zones and begin to work to make a difference, I think we'll be shooting short of our target as who we are as a people. As Yah's chosen, the chosen was not just sanctified and separated to be special and on a pedestal somewhere. The chosen was sanctified and empowered to be a light and to be one, living examples, but two, to be guardians for the people. So we have to put on our big shoes and step into that, and you're going to see that the things we have to do for ourselves become easier when we align with our purpose, because we have a much bigger purpose. And when you find yourselves aligning with that, how we're going to influence the people and how we're going to train these people, how we're going to take these people on this journey, how we're going to make them understand, and not just taking away what's bad, but giving them some tangible solutions and giving them the necessary skills and empowerment. And even sometimes we may have to figure out some money to help them move things along as well, whether we give them market type of skills in the organic space or we actually help them develop their own organic agriculture projects. But it's there's so much to be done, and there's so many opportunities that are here. I just wanted to give you a little bit of a broader scope as far as the food security opportunity. Um, Once we move to protecting the people, we protect ourselves. And the simpler system, we will train you guys. We will invite you to some of the training sessions so that you can participate and get you started in some of the simpler projects. Those who have larger projects or who may already have land and want to go ahead and get those lands developed, we can offer the consultancy services where we'll fly in or fly one of our specialists in to come to help you develop from A to Z. Our strength is actually production in terms of organic agriculture. Our biggest strength is production. We just had a bumper harvest of broccoli and cauliflower where we started giving away broccoli and cauliflower because it was just so much. We had more than we could sell to the market at that time, so we actually started giving it away. And it's a pleasure to see when the spirit of Yah moves with us like that, where the scriptures basically the earth shall yield its increase, or my cup runneth over. Sometimes you're looking for just hard cash and money, but when the cup is running over with broccoli and cauliflower, you're like, man, this is something else. You say, yeah, I'll give you. The earth always outgive us. So yeah. So back on track, you said, should there be a national crop assessment specialization zone? Yes. Yes, absolutely. We need to look at the various environments that we have and what grows best within those environments. And for those of you who may want to go into a larger scale production or commercial production, we look at what may grow best in that particular zone. And I say, if you're looking at commercial, let's trade. We can trade with ourselves, but we can also trade outside of ourselves. Okay, so don't limit it. If you want to start with trading among ourselves, yes, that's absolutely it's a no-brainer. But I don't say don't limit yourselves to that, and don't limit yourself to what everyone else is growing in a particular zone, because many times you find that there's some other crops that can grow in a zone that the local people may not have explored, or may just not have had the experience with. So these are some of the we grew mushrooms in Machakos, in a hot area in Kenya. We were growing mushrooms. We built earth brick houses and tapped into the power of the earth brick, which it releases. It actually absorbs the coal from outside at night and releases the coal inside during the day. So we had a bumper harvest and big yields again of mushrooms in a hot environment that was really unexpected and people had never explored. So sometimes it takes us to step out there and begin to show what we can do when we use our Yah-given senses, our Yah-given intelligence. Um, this number 7 question is, and please take notes if there's anything I might have gone through too fast or I skipped over. Okay,
Oh,
I
no,
also have some notes after.
you good, Benjamin. 1 second. Let me we about to switch over to another link real quick. So I'm gonna put the link in the group chat, and I'm gonna send you the link also and everything. And then we're gonna wrap up these last questions and open it up for Q&A for any other questions that people may have and everything.
That's fine. Okay.
All right. But you can keep going. We got 5 more minutes on this one, and then we're gonna switch.
You got 5 minutes?
Yeah, we're gonna switch to another link. Yeah, you can keep going.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Okay. Why is organic farming crucial for our people's health and future? Because most of what they call third world countries have been the dumping ground for deadly chemicals that they cannot sell, they cannot get rid of. So one, it serves them in that sense in terms of finding a market to sell those deadly products. Two, it helps them to quickly eliminate our people, and three, it keeps our people sick. So when our people are sick, we remain consumers. We remain consumers in the medical industry, and you're going to find that quite a number of the investors in deadly agrochemicals are also the same investors in pharmaceuticals and hospitals and hospital equipment and so on and so forth. So the reason why we have to go organic is because one, we cannot. There's no real future for us. There's no real future for us if we're sick or dead, if I say it in simple terms. But two is that we need to secure the future generations, and the only way to secure these future generations is that we can live long enough. We can, secure that we're going to ensure our own longevity to live long enough to pass this knowledge on, and two, to make sure that these lands are not completely contaminated, so we become like some other countries. Like I know back in as far as 2010, 2012, 25% of China's arable land was already polluted. And I know it's probably worse by now. You have so many countries that the arable lands have been polluted. So we cannot continue to let the Western world dictate or give us the direction in which we need to go as a people, especially, and I say this as an African people in general. We have been at the back of the line, chasing, trying to catch up with the rest of the world. And while we're trying to follow the rest of the world and running so far behind, they have already made a mess of it. So all we had to do as Africans was turn around and we would be in the lead of the countries in terms of a sustainable direction. So the second question in number 7, which is how to ensure that our communities follow organic practices, is to teach them. Is that we teach them, and not just teach them in terms of just having them come to trainings, but making sure that we impart the information and the knowledge in such a way that it becomes a part of who they are. It becomes a part of how they think. It becomes a part of how they function, so that the people themselves, our community people, as well as the local people, will be following the practices because these are the only things that make sense. And we will show them how to make it super productive. We have done it over and over. We have regenerated soils in one of our farms for several years until the carrots, the tomatoes, the eggplants, everything was super huge. Our beets, everything was growing super huge. Like some of the nearby supermarkets thought our peppers, our bell peppers, were GMO because they were so big. But this is because we had years and years of regenerating the soil and feeding the soil what it needs every season after we harvest. So soil regeneration is super important. Um, and how do we build a national food supply where every crop, carrots, et cetera, in a contribute in a collective system? Some of that we have already started with our basket distribution system that we have right now. We actually distribute food every week, which is a variety of everything that we grow, which includes carrots, beets, cabbage, eggplants, tomatoes, cucumbers, green leafy vegetables, onions or spring onions, all the herbs, parsley, thyme, oregano, mint, you name it. It's a long list of avocados when the trees are in season, but we distribute this to our people every week. So we eat what we are growing that we are sure is organic. And outside of that, we are connected to other organic farmers within our our extended family networks where we have access to organic foods from people close to us as well. So we have already started with a farm. It's only 1 acre in Kitusuru, which is close to us here, and that is where we feed ourselves right now. It's no, it's not like every single vegetable that we need, but it's a good maybe 90% sometimes of it. You know, sometimes it can be up to 90% of it. Um, the the other items, some of the grains we have not, like the rice and the quinoa, the buckwheat, and so on and so forth. Those things we have not been producing yet, but we do grow like sweet potatoes and some of the other not resistant starches, which are much better for your digestive anyway, and do not spike your blood sugars, etc. Palal, how are we looking in terms of time?
Oh, yeah, it's about to shut off right now. Yeah, it's about to
Okay,
be
let's
right on.
jump in next, and just one more point, and I think we'll finish after that.
All right.
Okay. Shalom, shalom. Everyone is back?
Yeah, pretty much. It's yeah.
Shalom.
Everybody coming back. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let me try to speed it up through these last couple of points so we can open up the floor.
Okay.
In terms of the if I'll answer number, just finish up with number 7 in a nutshell, is that the main reason I would say it's so important is that we need to control our own destiny. If I put it in a nutshell, we have to control our own destiny, and a nation who does not feed itself or depend on someone else to feed it is controlled by that person. Okay. Um, and within the next 3 months, if you ask me some of the projects that we could start with training first of all, and then setting up some small scale projects for those who are further away from us. No matter which country you're in, we can guide you on setting up some smaller scale projects. So if for nothing else, you start eating your own salad and your own seasonings, start right there because the 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 sense of security that you're going to have and the sense of security you have from growing your own food is twofold. One is that, like I mentioned before, you get that communication and that connection with Adama, with the soil. But two is that you're actually feeding yourself directly from something that you grew, and food communicates with you. The food has intelligence. All plants have intelligence, and the plants know who is growing it. So when you're personally interacting with that plant and you are a righteous individual, what that plant will give you is not what it will give to a wicked person. The plant is intelligent enough to know if it's grown by a righteous hands and a righteous spirit is gonna produce what you need to sustain yourself. And the other part of it is that to grow real cells that are going to constantly regenerate, those cells can only be regenerated from a plant source that's coming from an organic soil that's equipped and calibrated to feed the Adamic species. So we have to understand who we are as a species, and our species are fed through the instructions of Genesis 1 and 29, where it says, "I've given you the herbs of the field, I've given you the herbs of the field and the fruits of the trees, yielding seed to you it shall be for meat. So when you look back at Genesis 1 and 29, you have some real clear instructions. And the first job man was given was to dress the garden and keep it. So we understand that agriculture was the beginning of all things, and we cannot get around it. So I think it's important that everyone taps into some sort of small project. Like I said, we first thing I say, let's get trained and let's begin to do some let's begin to do some smaller projects. If you ask me personally, I mean I'm open to other ideas as well, and then and get moving. And then within the next 90 days, I would say then we can move into community projects. You know, we move into for those who are within proximity of each other. We can for those who have not established it, like Palal, you can just plug in your USB card to our farm we got here. You know, it's not like having to go and recreate it all over again because it's already started. And and I mean within the next 90 days, I would say we develop the community farms here in Kenya. We already have the small scale and the community farms established. What we're working and establishing right now is a training center. So those who want to help us get the training center up and going, because then we're going to be mass multiplying people to think like us and creating people in our image and our likeness with our knowledge. And that's something that's going to be real super empowering for the country. And it turns out to benefit us who are here now, and then the generations to come. You have a whole new generation of people thinking with our minds. So we think the training centers are important. And as we continue to develop, we can expand the training center ideas, because the training center ideas now, we can develop training centers wherever we are. So we're not just growing food for ourselves, we're building demonstration sites and training centers. So now when we talk about sustainability, making the project sustainable, because some trainees will be able to afford. Some people can send the farm hands and the farm workers to come train with us. Some people, quite a number of people, will pay for training. But then the other side of it is that those who want to donate can even sponsor a student, sponsor a child, sponsor a school dropout, sponsor some of the young girls who might have had an unfortunate situation, some of the young boys, because the training center is not just about training in agriculture. It's about giving them a new mind and creating a new destiny for our people. So the number 9, what practical methods can urban communities use for farming? Rooftop containers, micro gardens, hydroponics, community plots, etc. I would say yes, 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 yes. Let's go for what works in any environment that our people in the urban communities may find themselves in. But in terms of hydroponics, and my take on hydroponics is that even if you're growing in different types of planting systems, whether they're vertical gardens, etc., that we use compost and we use soil, because what the soil has in it, there was some real specific instruction that we were told to eat from the earth, and the spirit and what we get from the earth just cannot be duplicated, and it can't be found in other substrates. So you may grow in another substrate, but you have to feed the plant via an artificial means, etc., etc. But what the soil has to give it, the spirit and the sea and the complete whole micronutrient that the nutrients that the soil has, you just don't find that in any other substrate. Okay, so that's what I would say in terms of hydroponics. We need to have it tailored to using soil and or compost. Um, and for those who cannot farm, should they contribute monthly to agriculture fund or tax? I say absolutely yes, 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 because anybody on the ground anywhere in Africa, you know that you always need support to get these projects either up and going. Some may not be as sustainable as you want it to be right this second. And the other side of it is that we have to step into responsibility mode. We have to step into guardian mode. Put on our big boy and big girl jackets and whatnot, and get working and be the guardians that we're supposed to be, and how the urban members benefit from farm systems, even if they do not farm directly. I think the question before that answer that you can contribute financially if you're not in a position to help out and you're working a job or you're doing something else, then you can contribute financially to making sure that farm works, because it's your health, it's your family's health, it's your community's health, it's our extended family's health that we are securing. And we have to create these protective mechanisms. These are our real vaccines. Some of these farms that we established, this is the real vaccine to protect you from the onslaught of some of the chemicals in the environment, in the air, in some of the other, whether it's skincare products, the lotions, the food we eat in, some of the chemicals used in some of the food you don't know. You can open a can of tomato paste and you don't have no idea how that was grown. You drink orange juice, you don't know how they grew that orange, you know. You buy some garlic or some onions from the store, you don't know exactly how it was grown. So many times you find yourself slowly absorbing more and more of these deadly chemicals without necessarily understanding that the one, that they're there, and two, how do you reverse it? How do I get these things out of my body? And the biggest answer I can give you is to increase your stomach biome with probiotics, prebiotics, etc. But you definitely have to grow your own food that has essential nutrients and micronutrients and the minerals that you're going to need to produce your scented cells, if I said your organic cells. You know, that's what we need to grow. And what essential crops? This is the last question, number 10. I think that's the last one. What essential crops should be grown in every community? I said every community should, at very minimum, grow your own salad. Grow your own salad at very minimum, even if it's in a box. Like I said, it could be in a 6-inch box. Grow some salad. Get some soil, get some compost, grow some salad. Grow some salad and grow some herbs. I would say the number one herb to grow is oregano, if you ask me, because you can use oregano. You know, guys buy oregano oil and you get drops of oregano oil when you have any type of infection. The oregano is one that I know helps you to eliminate certain type of toxins from the body and helps to kill different types of bugs. So in our yard, we have oregano. I give it to my neighbors, my landlord, local people around us. We anyone gets sick, we go pick a bunch of oregano, tell them make some tea, and hit that. And most times within 24 to 48 hours, they're back in their feet. You know, so you grow, but whatever seasonings and herbs you need to use will help you get started. Let's get moving and protect ourselves to create cells, create these scented cells wherever you are, regenerating yourself. Because this thing is all about regeneration. And if we're not in the cycle, in the thinking of regenerative health, then we're in trouble. The pharmaceutical business and the medical institutions, they are based on sick people, so they have to educate you to keep you sick. So you get a headache, you go get some Tylenol, you got a bunch of side effects, and then you eventually go for something to treat the side effects, and you have all sorts of non-profits and donors and hospitals acting like they're coming to help you because they're not helping you to cure something that you could have prevented. And we said beyond just curative and preventative, we said let's go into regenerative. We need to move into a regenerative cycle. And the regenerative cycle of actually growing something that you're using. That's, to me, that's regenerative and preventative. Okay. So we have to get ourselves in that state once again. And that's the minimum I think anyone should grow wherever they are, even if you only have a balcony. If you don't have a balcony, you got a kitchen window, you know, you have light coming in the house from somewhere, grow something. Or if you can't, get with someone who does and help them to grow something. Then the larger project in terms of how do we make ourselves completely self-sufficient as an agriculture nation, we move beyond. We begin to assess climate zone to climate zone and assess what is absolutely necessary to be exported or to be traded. If it's not absolutely necessary and you can grow it, I say let's grow it. I have the hands. If you look at my hands, if you're looking at the screen, these hands have grown almost every vegetable I can think of that I ate. You know, so it's not rocket science, but I know based on the education we were given and the perception of life and food, it was taken away from us being farmers. And farming doesn't mean that farming is not a low level. What you consider, you always think of farm as somebody who's dirty in the mud and in the soil all the time. You know, the relationship with the earth is paramount to anyone who want to live this centered life that we talked about. So I think that those are the end of the questions right now. So at this point, I'd like us to go ahead and open up the floor. I know we have gone into some time here, but I just wanted to at least touch on every question that was asked and hope that we gave some sort of either a full answer or some of the answers that you're looking for.
All right.